Good afternoon. Happy Women's Day. Yay! So welcome to the first session of This is Film Heritage in Practice. My name is Giovanna Fossati. I'm the Chief Curator of iFilm Museum and Professor of Film Heritage and Digital Film Culture at the University of Amsterdam. This is Film is a collaboration between the University of Amsterdam, iFilm Museum, and the Amsterdam School for Cultural Analysis. And we started with this program in 2015. We skipped 1 year due to COVID, so this is the 8th edition. In particular, this series is carried out with the master students of the This is Film class at the university, and they will help introducing our guests and posing them questions. So a special welcome to the 31 students following This is Film this year. As you can see with the cameras here, the sessions are recorded and they will be made available online with a few weeks delay, as we have done in the past 2 years. And indeed, you can revisit the sessions from 2021 and 2022 on the YouTube channel. In addition, a selection of films that will be screened during the series will be made available on the iFilm player. This year's edition focuses on the theme Activating the Archive, which will also be the topic of the International conference taking place here in early June. I will tell you a bit more about the Activating the Archive topic, but first a few words on the series This is Film, and especially for those who have not attended before. So what we see on the screen is a scan made directly from a 35mm nitrate print of the trick film Les Tulipes, or the Tovertoneel in the Dutch distribution copy, made by Segundo de Chaumont for the production company Pathé Frères in 1907. The film was shot in black and white and then colored using a complex stencil technique. These and other techniques to add color to film were very common during the silent era, where roughly, so in the period roughly from the end of the 1800s to 1930, when sound film came about. We generally think that old films were black and white, but when we have a chance to explore the holdings of a film archive, we found out something very different. Indeed, the majority of films made during the first 3 decades of cinema were shown in color to their audience. These and many more aspects of our film heritage are not well known to the general audience today, and often not even to film students or film critics, who are often focusing on contemporary films or so-called classics that are shown at festivals, in cinemas, on streaming platforms. Accessing the hidden treasures held by film archives is unfortunately still a challenge. This is one of the main reasons why we decided to start with This is Film. With this series of public lectures and screenings, we aim to discuss issues related to the collection, preservation, restoration, and presentation of film heritage, and share them with the audience. The underlying idea is that learning more about when and how films are collected, preserved, and restored will help understand and enjoy more and better what we see, and maybe even stimulate to look more than what is available in cinemas and on streaming platforms. Similarly to the appreciation of other art objects and cultural products, if we know more about how films are preserved and restored, we can appreciate better what are the signs of history they carry and the various interpretations they have been made when restoring them. And maybe even more importantly, we start to look critically at what has been preserved and what has been lost, and why. By understanding what happens behind the screens, inside the film archives today and in the past, we realize that film heritage is much more than what is made accessible via the traditional channels. And we can start looking for films that still exist somewhere but have not yet been made accessible. This search will bring us to unexpected discoveries that need to be activated and made visible to the audience. Today, and the following 5 sessions of This is Film, we will look at the amazing work done by archives and film organizations around the world to activate film heritage that was hidden, considered lost, or simply not made accessible yet. Hence, this year's focus on activating the archive. Today, we'll talk with our guest, Tamer El Said, about the work at Cimatheque Alternative Film Centre, a cultural space in Cairo that not only programs independent films, but also holds an archive and a lab for analog film practice, and provide trainings and workshops. We will also learn about a very important oeuvre held by Cimatheque, the work by pioneer Egyptian documentary filmmaker Atteyat Al-Abnoudy, very timely on the International Day of Women. More about today's program in a few minutes. Then, on March 22, researcher and curator and Third Eye scholar in residence, Amal Al-Haq, will present Dispossessed Archives, Subversive Laughter and Colonial Headaches. This session is based on her year-long research in the extensive collection of home movies shot in the Dutch East Indies, held at Eye, looking for gestures of refusal and dissent by domestic workers portrayed in these films. Al-Haq will discuss film experts from the collection as well as more recent artistic works together with artist, curator and researcher Barbie Asante and filmmaker and curator Jefna Patikava. On April 12, my colleague at the University of Amsterdam, Floris Palman, will talk with Oksana Sarkisova, the director of Versio International Human Rights Documentary Film Festival in Budapest. They'll discuss archival compilation films screened in the past 2 decades at Versio. And they'll introduce the screening of the first film that was shown at the first edition of the festival, The Life of an Agent, made by Gabor Pap in 2004, which creatively reframe instructional films produced by the Minister of Interior in socialist Hungary. Be aware, this session comes 3 weeks after the previous one, so there is a longer gap than the usual 2 weeks between the second and the third session. On April 26, film scholar José Miguel Palacios and my colleague at the University of Amsterdam, Asle Özgen Avekotte, will talk about Chilean exile cinema, a corpus of more than 200 films made all over the world by Chilean directors who went into exile after the 1973 military coup. The program will include a number of such exile films that have been found, restored and repatriated to Cineteca Nacional de Chile. For the fifth session, we'll have Shivendra Singh Dugarpur with us. He is the founder and director of the Film Heritage Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting the preservation and restoration of Indian cinema. My colleague Anne Gent, Head of Conservation and Digital Access at I, will discuss with our guest about the work of the foundation and its recent effort to restore and preserve the oeuvre by legendary actor Amitabh Bachchan. A screening of Bachchan's Amar Akbar Anthony, made in 1977, will follow. The last session of This Is Film on May 24 will focus on the collection of Dutch activist films from the 70s and 80s. We'll discuss the topic with senior curator Romy Albers and former I trainees Carolina Battaglini and Martine Bau. We will also talk about the recent restoration of one of such films, the documentary Waar de Ratten koning zijn, Where the Rats Are Kings, made in 1985 by Barbara den Uyl, documenting the squatters' culture in the Amsterdam neighborhood Stadslidenbuurt. As I mentioned earlier, this year's international conference will also focus on activating the archive, but in that occasion, we will put more focus on the activism aspect of activating. In this line, the conference complete title reads, and it's a long one, Activating the Archive, Audiovisual Collections and Civic Engagement, Global Collaboration and Societal Change. Throughout 4 days of presentations, screenings, and discussions, we will look at how audiovisual archives can stimulate people to engage with specific social and political causes or support the efforts of activists. With more than 40 speakers coming from all around the globe, we will look at how audiovisual collections can be used and created as communal resources through global and local projects and collaborations, from inside as well as outside institutional archives. If you are interested, stay tuned as the complete program will be published shortly. So now, I would like to introduce Mélige Baldet, Anna Matthews, Adrian Passiribu, Errol Tyson, who are the students of the This Is Film class. And on behalf of the group, Anna will introduce our guest.
Thank you. Today we would like to welcome our guest, Tamer El Said, who has established an extensive and varied career in film and film-related projects. After receiving a degree in journalism from Cairo University in 1993 and 2 degrees in film directing from the High Cinema Institute in 1998 and 2004, El Said has written, directed, and produced 17 titles, which have been screened in hundreds of festivals worldwide. In this process, he has garnered numerous awards, including the Caligari Film Prize for his first feature-length movie, In the Last Days of the City, which premiered at the Berlinale in 2016. Most recently, he returned to the Berlinale with his archives-based installation, Borrowing a Family Album, which was presented at the Berlinale Forum Expanded Exhibition, and encouraged visitors to take part in the reminiscence of family memories through participation with the installation. In addition to this considerable filmography, he has been actively engaged in teaching cinema through workshops, lectures, and masterclasses internationally, including at London's Institute for Contemporary Art, School of the Art Institute in Chicago, and Silent Green in Berlin. Through his work, Tamer El Said has proven to be a strong proponent of alternative and independent approaches to cinema heritage, encouraging a shift away from industrialized practices. This can be seen not only in his films, but also in his more extensive projects, such as founding the independent production company Zero Production in 2007, and co-founding Cimatheque Alternative Film Centre Cairo in 2012. The Cimatheque has demonstrated extreme value as a cultural institution, as it functions simultaneously as an archive, education center, screening space, and post-production facility. Through the resources it provides, Cimatheque has supported the production of over 50 films, screened over 300 titles, organized 20 workshops, and hosted around 20,000 items in the archive. Notable within these archival collections is material personally donated by filmmaker Atteyat Al-Abnoudy, whose work will be screened shortly in this afternoon's program. Considered to be Egypt's first truly independent filmmaker, Al-Abnoudy sought to retain complete control over her work and materials, until 2011, when she donated her archive to the Cimatheque, which was still in the process of being established. Her decision to donate the collection was made in recognition of the Cimatheque's ambition to promote the independence and accessibility that could not be found in state-run institutions. Currently, Tamer El Said lives between Cairo and Berlin, where he continues to explore the relationship between archives, film, and independent and alternative approaches to cinema heritage. We are pleased to have him with us today in person as the first guest in the 2023 This Is Film public lecture series.
Thank you, Anna. You just made it very difficult on me. Okay, so first, thank you, Giovanna. Thank you, University of Amsterdam. Thank you, iFilm Museum. Strangely, I feel at home. So thank you for your very enthusiastic welcome and for giving me this chance to share some of what we do with you. What else I want to say? You know, I did this many times, and I wish today I will learn how to do it well. So let's hope. How can I represent Cimatheque while I'm part of it? That was always the question that comes to my head every time better. That's always the question that comes to my head every time I'm doing this presentation, because looking from inside, I keep thinking, how could I think of it from outside? And this is always a difficult experience. But let's see. So, Cimatheque started as an idea. I'm a filmmaker. I always thought that film is the practice I want to play with. I want to work with. What I love about cinema is I think it's a beautiful practice to engage with reality. So it's just it opens our mind and heart to learn things about ourselves. Everything started when I wanted to do a film. So I knew how I wanted to do what kind of film. Like I could see the film in my head, but I didn't know how to do it. And in the process of making this film, I was joined by amazing people who also donated to walk with me through this journey. And at some point, we had to open a production house because no one accepted to produce my film. So we realized that we have to produce it ourselves. And when we opened this production house in downtown Cairo, Zero Production, we found a small flat. It's not really small. It's a flat in a very beautiful building, and the day we opened, this space was occupied by our friends. So We had people, we had our friends who were looking for a space to meet and discuss and work. And then we realized how much within the scene of the filmmakers in Cairo that we need a space like Cimatheque. In the following years, we started to build something small. After the Egyptian Revolution in 2011, we felt this is the right moment to go bigger, because we thought this is a moment when the whole map is changing, and we wanted to have a good place in the new map that was composed at that time, regardless of in which direction we went on in the years after. I mean, I'm talking about the whole region. How do we imagine Cimatheque? We say Cimatheque is a question and not an answer. Cimatheque is a proposal to people that wish to exist among many other proposals. As Giovanna mentioned, and Anna also, it's we do many things. And maybe I will make a quick overview of the things we do, and then I will focus a little bit on the archive. This is our screening room. I claim that this is the best screening conditions in Cairo, if not the region. We learned how to build this. That was a part of a flat, and to be able to adapt to a screening room with the best screening conditions of image and sound, we had to learn many things. In this room, we screened so many films, maybe as more than 300 screenings happened in this screening room. We always wanted to, most of these films were shown in Cairo publicly for the first time. It doesn't mean that they were new films. Many of them were really old films, but they were never shown in Cairo. We showed films from all around the world, from different cinemas and from different filmmakers. We were known of this very special way of announcing our film, so we were basically like making a new poster for the film. These are like very small cards that people will collect. Many times I'm invited to a dinner or something, and then I realize that people are collecting these items and they put it on. They don't know. And actually, I would say this is also something that I realized how much it affects how to present your film. When people feel that you do it with love and passion, when you create something that shows this passion for the film, people also believe in what you do, and they come and share. Our program was very diverse. Sometimes we were also combining this with other spaces. So it's also a community-based program. So we were trying to work with the other initiatives in the neighborhood. So, for example, the architect who helped us to build our cinema was his office was just around the corner. There was a restaurant across the street of Cimatheque, and we used to do a joint program with them, where we show some films and they serve dinner between the films. We have many workshops in different types of workshop. We also run a 2 years program to train people on writing for films and writing about films with many critics from the region. And the result was a publication that was published in 2018. We have also an analog film lab. We have a small dark room. We have full set of equipment, of analog equipment. We also offer people crash courses to learn the analog practice, and we introduce them to our dark room, and then they can, if they need, we also do the developing and the processing for their material. We have also a film scanner to scan this material and share it in a digital form. These are like pictures of our activities. The archive started in Cimatheque accidentally. So while we were building Cimatheque, one day filmmaker Atteyat Al-Abnoudy, who will watch some of her films tonight, she came and knocked our door, and she came with some boxes, and she said, okay, I want to donate this, my personal archive and the archive of a friend who kept it with me, to you. And then we said, but the archive is not part of our mandate, but she said, but you should make it part of your mandate. We were very lucky at that time to meet Yasmin Dusu'i, who I think all of us owe her a lot of things on how this archive developed over the years after. Yasmin studied archive practice in NYU in New York, and she returned back to Cairo after 2011, and at that time she was looking for a space to practice her archive. So we met Yasmin almost on the same month when Atteyat brought her archive. And Yasmin joined our team, and with her we learned so many things about the archive, and our team started to understand how important is this practice. After Atteyat, like we kept receiving so many material from the community. Like, our archive is based on donation from the community, and it's very diverse. So it's not only films, it's films, pictures, documents, reports, manuscripts, drawings, rushes, orphan films. It's everything. So these are some of our spaces in Cimatheque. We have also a Steinbeck. So it's more than 20,000 items, and dealing with this, like having this material at our premises, was imposing questions on us every day. This material is deteriorating with the time. We don't have the capacity and the means, or even the knowledge, to know how to save this material. And for decades, there was this practice of Super 8 and 16 millimeter films with the home movies. And I know, and we know of hundreds of people, or thousands of people who have these reels at their houses, but they don't know what exists on it. And then we made a program. We called it Revisiting Memory. And in this program, we invited people to bring their home movies, and we will offer them projectors to look at it and see what's inside and get to know what they have. I think Revisiting Memory was a milestone in our journey. Because I remember very well this incident when one of our audience, she said that she has a big collection of her grandfather that she doesn't know what's on it, and she wanted to invite all her family to come and watch this material with us. The family came and we played the pictures, the reels, and there were like different material of the memories of the family over the years. After the screening, a guy like in his 40s came to us and he said, "Thank you. You allowed me to see my mother for the first time. My mother died when I was when I was very young, and I never saw her walking. I only saw her on a still image." And the fact that how he was talking and how all the discussion with this family, it opened something to us about what we do, and we understood that within this practice we can really understand something about the multi-layered accounts of the past. And for us, we see the archive as a way to create narratives versus the one dominant narrative that the state is opposing. As I said, our collection is, it has films of almost all forms, including the rare forms like 9.5 and also we have tapes, DVDs, Blu-ray, Super Betacam, digital files, Cimatheque. Some of these formats are not existing anymore. We have also documents, photographs, rare films, publications, magazines, books, diaries and personal notes, film drawings, original animation illustrations, original artworks. And this is also another thing, that we have some very rare analog material that was manufactured in Egypt. And for example, that was something that we never knew about, that we were manufacturing some analog material, analog equipment in Egypt, especially for the animation studios. Atteyat Al-Abnoudy is the first collection we have. It's very, it's about 50 reels of films and rushes in 16 millimeters, and 16 millimeter versions of some of her films. Actually, the films that we will watch tonight, they are not part, we don't have them on analog material, so we will watch the digital files. But I mean, hopefully soon there might be good news, because some of these materials exist in and I was talking to Giovanna today about the possibility of using this analog versions of the film. Abdelhamid Said is actually a great cinephile, and he was the head of the Film Centre for many years. He also he had the only concrete project of setting up an Egyptian Cimatheque. And for this, he made a long journey to Germany and Czechoslovakia to learn about the archive practice in the beginning of the 60s. And after this, he wrote a long report that we feel so, it's a precious, it's very detailed report on how to set up a Cimatheque in Egypt. And we feel so special that we have this report that actually could work as our mandate. He was also an archivist by nature, so every piece of paper he had, he made sure to document it and explain the context of having this paper. We have also a collection of Hussein Helmi al-Muhandis, who was a director and writer and a professor. He, for so many years, he was directing the newsreel that was produced by the state, which is, it's this newsreel that used to be shown before showing the film. And actually we have big bulk of the rushes that he shot during the 60s and the 70s and the early 70s. We have also some of the reports from the Egyptian censorship on some of the production, the Egyptian production in the 50s and 60s, and about 800 report. And we have a lot of private collections of different families. This is, for example, a very extremely rare footage of Cairo and Alexandria in the 20s, and also some footage of this family traveling to Lebanon and Syria and Switzerland. Yeah, this is another gem we have. Ihab Shaker is a pioneer animator. He made tens of animation film for kids, and we were very lucky to receive that his family donated all his studio to us, that include all his projects. Nagy Shaker is Ihab's brother. He is a filmmaker, a puppet maker, a set designer, a costume designer, and some of his collection is the drawings and the designs of prominent Egyptian films that Nagy himself was the set designer for these films. A lot of found footage that covers, like, and you know, like this found footage, sometimes we see it we found it in the flea market, or someone is offering this material to us to buy it, and we discover amazing things in this material. And then this is the crown stone of our collection. So in 2019, like in the beginning of 2019, I received an email from Stephanie Schulte-Strathaus, my friend who is the director of the Arsenal in Berlin, and she forwarded to me an email came to her from Ihab Rafla, the son of Magdi Rafla, who claimed that that his father was a cinephile collecting films, and he has the missed part of Metropolis. And he was quite sure that he has this part, and she asked me to go and investigate this thing. I called the man and I said, but how many films your father did collect? And he said, I don't know, maybe, but definitely thousands. I thought he was exaggerating, and then he said, you can come and see. I went to his flat in Heliopolis, and this is the first thing we saw. This man grew up with films. The father collected more than 3,000 films of all format, from everywhere in the world. The father, who was a jewelrist by profession, he was publishing ads in almost every newspaper, in every language. Like you will see, I hope maybe we put it here. I don't know. In the collections, we have files of the ads that he was publishing. And for any community living in Egypt, with the Italians, with the Armenians, with the ads is the same all the time. We buy any film. So that was a project that changed our practice in a very clear way, because when we saw that we have this amount of films that needs to be preserved or to be saved, we started to actively learn how to keep these films in the best possible conditions. So what does Cimatheque do? This process, we do, of course, the inspection and the inventory, but also we digitize the material. Digitizing the material is, as you imagine, is not an easy process, because not everything we can just put it on the scanner and digitize it. This process needs a lot of investigations and making sure that the film is able to be digitized, and in fact we had to learn all this process and all this tools and on how to clean the film and take care of the film before we do it. And now we have a team who is able to do this work. Ahmed, and he also joined us for a time. I mean, we were very lucky to have two of our teams also part of this class of Giovanna, and I'm very happy that they both are here tonight, Ahmed and Fatma. Thank you for coming. We also produce tutorials, like online tutorials to help people to take care of the material they have. We also try to learn advanced techniques in preservation and restoration. One of the things we also did is to set up some infrastructure for the legal deal with the donors, and what are the rights that we can use or for the material they give us. And finally, we started a process of doing restoration. So now we are finishing our first film that is digitally restored inside Cimatheque in collaboration with a company in Germany, Closed Doors by Atteyat, that was shot in 1991. Our next project, or the thing that we are trying to build now, is to build a space to display and show all our collection. Because so far we couldn't sort out more than 10% of our collection. It's a lot of work and it needs a lot of money, a lot of effort. It needs a big team to do it. Our wish is to build an archive lab that can turn the space into a display area that people can access the material when they arrive, and also digitize everything and have all the collection ready. I mean, this is just the project that we wish to, in the next 3 years, to achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamer. I
Thank you.
really enjoyed your talk, and although, I mean, we've been in touch for some time now, and I've read a lot about Cimatheque. I've never been there, and but now it's even more concrete for me, both what it is, where it's coming from, and where you'd like to go. I'll start with a question. Actually, I'll return you the question you asked me earlier today. When was the moment you knew you wanted to get into archiving? Something I liked a lot in your talk is when you said that when Atteyat Al-Abnoudy came with her archive and she said, you should make it your mandate to archive films, was the turning point for Cimatheque. But when was the turning point for you personally?
I mean, I think I was like since I was young, I had this game that I used to play in my head. Like when I used to go with my family to the flea market. And then, for example, when I pick a glass, I keep imagine how many person touched this glass, how many person was drinking in this glass. Just to imagine that this glass was held by maybe 200 people before me in different ages was something made me think of, so this glass must have something from everyone. So I think I had this in my head at some point, but the difference is like, I think also on a different level, like as in my family, I grew up without a family album. That's why like my archive-based project is about family album. So my sister passed away in a car accident, and my family decided that to hide or to get rid of every evidence of her existence. So this thing of growing without a family album and like seeing how much I was yearning to know something about my memory made me think all the time of the importance of having an archive. And in fact, I see that everything around us is archive. Like, you know, our houses, like my home is an archive of my life. My wardrobe is an archive of my clothes. So I feel we all practice with archive even if we don't know. But in film, I think I can't really trace when exactly, but there was a moment when I realized that when we look at the image, like this is also a question that I keep asking myself every time I'm, you know, as a filmmaker, my work is to produce an image. So every time when I start a new project, I ask myself this question: do we need more image? Aren't we have enough? Did we consume everything we have? Do we still need to produce something that wasn't produced before? And this is also something like, while we are talking about how to be less consumerist with the material, it's the same thing with the image. Did we really look enough at the image we produced over the last years? Did we use them enough? And we need new images to produce. So all these questions are always in my head. And I think there was a moment when I also said to myself, but also every image I produce will be part of an archive one day. So yeah, I don't know. I feel I told you the story of my life, but I didn't answer the question. But it's okay.
No, you did. You did. Thank you. Then what you were saying about the family album and memories. You mentioned in your talk the project Revisiting Memories,
Yes.
when you opened the doors basically to anybody to come with their own movies. Is this an initiative, a recurring initiative at Cimatheque, or was it once?
I mean, we are always open to anyone who wants to come and like see or like check what they have, or this is our doors are open for these people always. But that was a program, because also the idea wasn't only that people could come, but also we create a pool of this material, and then some programmers could program from this material. I mean, of course, that was. I mean, it's. I think. This is a beautiful thing about the archive, that it opens, there is this community aspect. When you invite people to bring their material, then you also open a discussion with them. Yeah, we did it one time as a program, but it's part of, I mean, all the time there are people either interested in discovering the archive, or people who have something and they want to know what's on it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and what you are just said links with something beautiful you said at the beginning of your talk, that Cimatheque is not an answer but a question. I think you should make it the slogan of your organization. No, I really loved it, and this idea that you enter in a dialogue with the images, with the carrier of the images, with the makers, and
also I think this is something important about the archive as a practice. Like, do we really want to agree on one story, or we want people to come up with their stories? So this is a fundamental question in the archive practice. Because when we look at the image, when we look at any image, do we see the same? Like, I think everyone, like, it's a mutual relationship. Like, it's the same in my practice as a filmmaker. I always say it like this: I project the film to the people, but the people project their life on the film. And same thing when they look at the picture, when they read a text. So I think this is what we want to support, and to create, to open accessibility to material and allow people to answer in whatever direction they want, rather than occupying the imagination with one narrative.
Yes. No, I completely agree with this. And I'd like to link with what you were saying about how kind of comparing the archival practice with the filmmaking one. I think, I don't know if it's Méléger or Adrian, you had a question about Tamer as a filmmaker.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really good. Yeah, you mentioned it previously, briefly, but since like film archiving came in the middle of your practice as a filmmaker, and now you're practically living double lives. How does your work as a filmmaker inform your work with the Cimatheque and vice versa? I mean, could you give us or describe certain practical situation, like when you're producing films or when you are making decisions with the Cimatheque?
I mean, of course, my work with the archive made me, as I said, like, I keep asking myself, why do I need to film this? And because there is a power that you have as an image maker, because you keep something like a testimony about a time or a space or a place, and this testimony will be used by other generations to tell stories about the time you lived. So this puts a lot of responsibility on every image we create, because in a way we contribute to the story that will be told about our time by the next generations. And this awareness, I wouldn't think of it this way without my practice with the archive. Because now with every image I look at, I also think of the person who made all the decisions, where to put the camera, what part you will choose to film, in which direction will you direct your camera this way or that way. All these choices are informing something about this person and the time and the context. And this is also part of reading the archive, because I think we all do this. When you look at the archive, we don't only read what's present, but actually we read more what's absent. So everything, for example, about the history of or the presence of women in the film industry, all the power dynamics, since we are talking about Atteyat today, and since today is March 8th also. So all the discussions that are urgent and needed about the power dynamics inside this industry is also something that you can trace if you look at any production in the last 50 or 60 years. So this position, I think it's very important to both. I think every filmmaker is an archivist. Actually, let's put it like this. I have the letters that are exchanged between my father and my mother for 7 years. If I want to know, for example, what did they say about me, I need to read all these letters. Today, we all carry our archive with us. You open your WhatsApp, and you can trace your relationship to your family or to your partner or to, the archive is a daily practice. There is a meaning of being a filmmaker on a time that you can open any social media platform and see what everybody is doing. We only archive all the time. This is, I would say, the most active practice humankind is doing today. Really, why we keep all the conversations, the pictures, until the phone is full, and we are so scared of losing this. So, and I think it's a native desire to exist.
Let's see if there are any questions. Yeah, I see one back there.
I actually work at the Brazilian Cimatheque, and one of the main issues that we've been facing is exactly regarding home movies, and how to preserve it and give access to the public to this type of films. So one of my question actually is, how do you feel about distributing these films and actually also putting them online so that more people from other countries and people that are not part of that community can have access to as well?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like this is a question that it's very difficult to answer. I don't think there is an answer to this. Basically, also with everything related to, with any archive practice, there is a set of ethical questions that come, that explode in your face every time you try to do something. And you know, and thank you for your question, because it's I think everyone use the archive in his or her practice. They face this every day, and to me, what I can say is it's very important to acknowledge the power dynamics. This is in the first place. Like to ask yourself who has the power on this archive and what does it mean to use it? And raise this issue of entitlement. And then there is, in a context like the region where I came from, there is also a set of issues related to the safety and security and political involvement. And then there is another set of traditions and morals and how these people will be judged if you show this material. But at the same time, I also think there is you know, it's like everything in reality. I mean, I say to I teach filmmaking, so I say to my students, film is a negotiation with life. You negotiate, but it's very important in this negotiation is to acknowledge your position and not to get how can I say, like not to lie to yourself and think that just in the name of giving accessibility, then you can do anything. Of course, like I agree, but most of the time, like the amount of the material that we can give access to people is way less than the material that stay hidden and not shared. Like, yeah, but we always need to respect the will of the people. However, we also need to work actively to create a situation when people understand that they are not judged. You know, it works both ways. Like also on the other side, the community has a responsibility towards this as much as the individual has a responsibility towards the community.
Oh, I see a follow-up question here. Maybe just quickly, if you are around next week, no, in 2 weeks, if you are still here, I think the session, then the second session could be interesting around this topic, as Amal Al-Haq will discuss the home movies shot in the former Dutch colonies.
Just I want also to say something that in my last installation that Anna mentioned, I used a collection of a family home movies of a family that I never met. They are Greek family, but of course that was done by an agreement with the family. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the work that you do and for presenting it so nicely. Just maybe a quick question. Was the missing piece of Metropolis in the Rafla collection?
No, I mean, so far we didn't find it, but who knows, maybe, you know. I mean, I like the idea. I think if we found this part, I think it's more fun not to found it. So yeah, and this is also another thing about the archive, that, you know, I feel archive exists only when it's used, and when you use something, it will age, or it will be broken, or some parts will not function with the same. So it's also very important to, not in the name of preserving the archive, to create a gatekeeper and not allow people to use it. You know, this is a fundamental practice in Cimatheque, a fundamental issue in Cimatheque, that how to learn to give people accessibility, even if this means that some of this material will be in risk. Of course, this is not related to the missing part of Metropolis. I'm just like saying it's okay that we, yeah.
Well, I actually agree with you that it's much more fun if you don't find it.
Yeah.
I don't think we need another restoration of Metropolis.
Yeah, it's okay.
Now, I'm looking at the time, and I think we want to move to the films we are going to see.
Yes.
There are a couple of questions about the program today. I don't know, Errol or Méliger, about the curating, the order of films today.
I was wondering the curating choice to put those three films together that I usually presented together, the Horse of Mud, Sad Song of Tuha, and The Sandwich, that were released as a DVD together, so there's always this trilogy aspect to it. So I was just wondering if it was actually a wish from Atteyat Al-Abnoudy.
It's her first 3 films, and also to a great extent, they kind of inform about her direction. Like Atteyat was known as the filmmaker of the poor people. This is how she was known, the lawyer of the poor people. So she was very interested in representing very marginalized communities and bring them on screen. And also part of, like, big part of her practice, that's why it was challenging the official narrative, because it doesn't bring a good image of the country. You know, she was pointing the camera on images that no one wants to promote. In this sense, I think that was a radical choice of her. So she was a woman, a female filmmaker, on a time that it was not easy. It was impossible to produce films for women in Egypt by the state, and that's why she was the first one who started to do the self-produce within this frame. Like, of course, there are other people who did this, but Atteyat was very progressive in trying. She produced most of her films, and within her generation, I don't think any other filmmaker has this number of self-produced films in their filmographies. And this is because she couldn't find any means of support. She had to do it herself.
Okay, so maybe there is time for one more question, if there is one. And if not, is there anything else you want to tell us before we move to the screening about?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It was, thank you for your time. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe I just like say the films that we will watch tonight. So we'll see. Horse of Mud is her first film, and it was her graduation project from the Film Institute in Cairo. 1971, 12 minutes. And then Sad Song of Tuha, the second film of Atteyat, 1972, 12 minutes also. And then The Sandwich, her third film, and I think it was her first time the first two films were in black and white. The Sandwich was her first film in color. And then we will see one of her later films that I personally like it a lot, Permissible Dreams, 1983, 31 minutes. And I wish you enjoy the screening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I hope to see you back in 2 weeks for the session with Amal Al-Har, and enjoy the screening.